Imagine a world where the very concept of a lie evaporates in an instant. Not by choice, not by law, but by some unseen universal force. It arrived with the dawn, a silent wave that washed over the planet, a fleeting, inexplicable anomaly. It was a change not in the laws of physics, but in the laws of consciousness. A fundamental constant of human interaction, a tool used for survival, for kindness, for cruelty, was simply switched off. The architecture of our societies, built on a foundation of negotiated truths and gentle deceptions, was about to be tested. What happens when the buffer between thought and speech is removed? When the unvarnished, unfiltered self is all that's left? Is it liberation or the end of civilization? It begins one morning not with a bang, but with a stutter. The first harmless white lie won't come out. In a bustling coffee shop, a barista tries to tell a customer to have a nice day, and the words catch. In Tokyo, a salaryman attempts to flatter his boss but finds himself struck dumb, a gaping silence where the compliment should be. A student late for class opens his mouth to invent a story about traffic, and instead, a strangled gasp escapes. All over the world, millions of these tiny personal failures occur. Each person thinks it's a private malfunction, a moment of anxiety, a fleeting neurological glitch. They clear their throats, dismissing the unnerving sensation of their own voice betraying them. But the feeling is too specific, too alien. A sudden constriction in the throat, sharp and absolute. A mental wall, crystalline and unbreachable, slams into place. The words won't form. It's not that they can't think the lie. The deception is fully formed in the mind. But the bridge between thought and tongue has been severed. The neural command to speak the falsehood is met with a system error, a biological blue screen of death. The brain sends the signal, but the larynx refuses the command as if it now operates on a new immutable law. The truth is the only syntax it will accept. The first casualties are the small, kind fictions that lubricate society, the polite agreements, the gentle reassurances. At Christmas, in a quiet suburban home, the phenomenon reveals its devastating power. A mother kneeling by a glittering tree sees the hopeful eyes of her daughter. She prepares to deliver the age-old, beautiful lie. "Santa," she begins, her voice warm, but the name hangs in the air. Her throat tightens, panic flashes in her eyes. She tries again, forcing the sound, but it's like pushing against a mountain. Her voice fails. The magic dies in silence, the air growing thick with a new, terrifying tension. The child's smile falters. "Mummy, what's wrong?" The mother, trapped, can't say nothing. The path of deflection is gone. Instead, a raw truth spills out, unbidden and catastrophic. "Santa isn't real. He's a story." The words are flat, brutal, and with that first broken dam, the floodgates open. The father, seeing his wife's distress, asks what's happening. She turns to him, her face a mask of horror, and the truths she has suppressed for years begin to pour out. The secret credit card, the gnawing fear of their debts, the hollow ache of a broken marriage. Comforting illusions don't just collapse, they are violently detonated, leaving behind a crater of raw, inescapable reality. And all across the globe, similar detonations are taking place as humanity awakens to a world without lies. It begins, as so many endings do, under sterile television lights. In the halls of power, a senior minister approaches the podium, ready to perform the familiar dance of deflection. The question hangs in the air, masking a decade of backroom deals. He opens his mouth, the well-rehearsed falsehood on his tongue, a shield he has wielded his entire career, but the words don't come. There's only a sudden violent pressure behind his eyes, a cognitive wall. His mind screams the lie, but his throat constricts. A choked gasp escapes, a sound of pure panic as the truth, raw and ugly, claws its way to the surface. The journalists lean in, their expressions shifting from boredom to a predatory curiosity. They sense a narrative collapsing in real time. He is not alone. Across the globe, in parliaments and secret summits, the same silent seizure is taking place. The language of diplomacy, woven from centuries of ambiguity, unravels in an instant. Treaties built on unspoken concessions become void. Alliances founded on hidden interests fracture into open hostility. The entire architecture of global politics, a fragile house of cards, doesn't just fall, it evaporates. The contagion spreads from the Senate floor to the boardroom. A titan of industry, on a live earnings call, attempts to spin a narrative of growth. Instead, he finds himself confessing. He details years of falsified reports and planned obsolescence. His voice is flat, robotic, a conduit for a truth that can no longer be contained. The spell is broken. With political and corporate trust pulverized, the economy is next. The global markets, great engines of speculation, become a slaughterhouse. Trading algorithms are thrown into a death spiral by a force they cannot compute. Absolute honesty. The numbers on the screen are revealed for what they always were, a collective belief system, and the world has just stopped believing. Trillions in digital wealth, life savings, pensions vanish in a heartbeat. A bonfire of the vanities on a planetary scale. Trust, the invisible currency underpinning every transaction, evaporates. There are no bailouts for a crisis of reality, no stimulus package for a world where foundational lies have been stripped away. For the architects of the old world, the brokers of power, there is no escape. Their wealth was a story they told. Their power was a secret they kept. Now, the story is over and the secret is out. There are no more golden parachutes, no offshore havens. There is only the long, terrifying fall and the hard, unyielding truth waiting at the bottom. Finally, the purge reaches our most intimate spaces. Do you still love me becomes the most dangerous question in the world, and dating apps vanish overnight. Only the raw, lonely truth of who we are. A world without lies sounds like a utopia, a perfect crystalline society built on the bedrock of absolute truth. But we quickly learned it wasn't a paradise we had built, but a prison of glass walls where every thought, every insecurity, every fleeting judgment was exposed to the harsh, unforgiving light. The small, kind deceptions that once lubricated society, the polite, I'm fine, the gentle, that dress looks lovely, vanished overnight. What was left was a brutal, jagged landscape of unfiltered honesty. Social gatherings became minefields of anxiety, and relationships, once built on carefully curated vulnerability, shattered under the weight of total transparency. And in this new world, a strange paradox emerged. Without deception, trust itself collapsed. Because trust was never just about the absence of lies, it was about faith in another's discretion, in their kindness, in their ability to protect your feelings. When that choice was removed, so was the foundation of faith. How can you trust someone who is biologically incapable of sparing you a hurtful truth? The very fabric of our connections, woven from threads of unspoken understandings and gentle omissions, began to tear apart strand by strand. For a time there was a profound silence, a global hush, as humanity retreated into itself, afraid of the damage our own unfiltered minds could do to others. Yet in the ruins of our old social order, something new, something unexpected began to emerge. It started quietly, a child too young to understand the new world's harsh rules, creating a world more vibrant than the one outside. A lone musician in a desolate city square, playing a melody that spoke of sorrow and hope without uttering a single dangerous word. And we all listened. We all watched. We realized that what we had lost was not the ability to lie, but the ability to create nuance. And so we turned to the one domain left where fiction was not a sin but a virtue. Storytelling, art, music. These became our last surviving beautiful lies. A novel wasn't a falsehood, it was a shared dream. A painting wasn't a deception, it was a window into another's soul. A symphony wasn't a lie, it was the pure, unmediated language of emotion. These arts became our new social contract, the fictions that allowed us to feel connected again. Humanity learned a profound lesson, that our reality is not built on facts alone, but on the stories we tell ourselves about those facts. We need fictions to live, not to escape the truth, but to make the truth bearable. These shared creations became our new mythology, the grand narratives that allowed us to rebuild society, not on a foundation of fragile personal lies, but on the enduring power of collective imagination. They are the proof that sometimes the most profound truths can only be spoken through fiction. So, knowing the cost, knowing the trade-off, would you truly want to live in a world without a single lie?